They met in the summer of 1983, the kind of summer that only seems to exist in memory. Long evenings, cassette radios, the smell of freshly cut grass. Mark had just turned 21, working at his uncle's hardware store in Erie, Pennsylvania. It wasn't much, but it paid enough to keep his old Ford running and let him buy the occasional milkshake at Mel's Diner. Emily wasn't from Erie. She was from Boston, staying with her aunt to get away from a bad breakup, or so the story went. Mark didn't know the details, just that one afternoon she walked into the store looking for paint, and he couldn't stop staring. She wore a denim jacket in July, and when he asked if she wasn't too warm, she said, "Style over sweat." That made him laugh, and he hadn't laughed like that in a while. They saw each other nearly every day after that. Sometimes it was by accident, running into each other at the lake, the diner, or at the tiny movie theater that only played old films on Fridays. Other times it was intentional, a shared cup of coffee, a late-night drive, a walk along the railroad tracks with fireflies lighting the path. She was everything Mark wasn't, spontaneous, bold, a little wild. She once convinced him to sneak into a closed fairground just to ride the Ferris wheel in the moonlight. It didn't work. They got caught. But even then, as the security guard scolded them, she just winked at Mark like it was all part of some plan. By the time July turned into August, they were inseparable. But the thing about summer is, it always ends. Emily had to go back to Boston for her final year at university. They sat on the hood of Mark's car the night before she left, barely speaking. She promised to write. He did too, and they meant it. The letters started off strong. Long, handwritten pages filled with stories, jokes, questions, and little doodles in the margins. Mark kept every single one in a shoebox under his bed. But by winter, something changed. Her letters became shorter, more distant. Then came the one that felt like a punch to the gut. She'd met someone, a law student. "It wasn't planned," she wrote, "but it happened. And I think I need to see where it goes. You deserve someone who can give you their full heart. And I don't think I can do that right now." Mark didn't reply, not because he was angry, but because he didn't know what to say. For a while, he still checked the mailbox every day, hoping she'd change her mind. But she didn't. Life moved on, slowly. Mark eventually met Donna, a nurse who worked the night shift at the local hospital. She was kind, practical, and didn't ask too many questions about the past. They married in 1989 and had 2 kids, Michael and Grace. He wasn't unhappy, but he wasn't quite whole either. Every now and then, on a quiet night, he'd think about Emily, what she was doing, where she was, whether she ever thought about him too. He still kept that shoebox hidden in the attic now, under some old Christmas decorations and forgotten photo albums. In 2005, Mark was 43, divorced, and living alone in a small apartment not far from the lake where he and Emily once walked barefoot through the mud. The kids were grown, Michael in Chicago, Grace in Denver. He talked to them on Sundays. One Tuesday morning, as he was drinking coffee and flipping through a mechanic's catalog, his phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't pick up, but something made him answer. "Hello? Is this Mark Whitman?" a woman asked. Her voice was shaky, unsure. "Yes. Who's this?" "My name is Sarah. I'm Emily's sister." He didn't speak. Couldn't. "I'm sorry to call out of the blue," she continued. I wanted to tell you that Emily passed away. She had breast cancer. She fought hard. She really did." Silence. She left something for you. A letter. She asked me to find you and give it to you if I could. It took me a while, but I did." Mark received the letter 3 days later. It was in a pale blue envelope, the same kind she used to send all those years ago. The handwriting hadn't changed much, still rounded, still a little messy. He didn't open it right away. He sat with it in his hands for nearly an hour before carefully breaking the seal. It read, Mark sat on the porch of his apartment that night with the letter in his lap, the same way he used to sit by the lake, staring at the ripples in the water. The sky was starting to turn orange, cicadas humming in the trees. It smelled like summer. And for the first time in decades, he read her words not with heartbreak, but with gratitude. Sometimes love doesn't last, but sometimes it stays, quietly, unchanged, waiting in a shoebox or a memory or a letter sent years too late.